Welcome everybody, True here, bringing you my end of year game awards, and I thought I would start at the bottom because then we can only aim upwards from there. So we're going to start with the worst games of 2017, but before we begin, just a very quick review of the year. I feel 2017 has been overall a terrible year for gaming, both on AAA platforms, mainstream platforms, and the indie scene as well. I don't think even the AAA have had a stellar year, even if you rule out all the controversy over loot boxes and Destiny XP fixes and other shenanigans that Bungie and Activision are getting up to in that game. I don't think we've had that much of a stellar year, to be honest with you. There's been a few shining lights, and I am going to do a video later on to reflect that, but we're going to start with the indie games here. And we've had some brilliant indie games, some really enjoyable titles, but we have really seen some terrible ones, some broken ones that shouldn't have really, for me, reached console platform, because we don't want to see both PSN, the Xbox Store, and even the Nintendo Switch Store degenerate into the shit show that Steam is currently. So without further ado, here are the worst 15 games that I have personally played in 2017. Lilitham graces with its presence in September of 2017. Luckily, it's only available in US regions currently. It's published by EOM Entertainment and made by Cheestar Studios. It's a symmetrical puzzle game where you control two players as one, with both your inputs mirroring each other on the opposing screen, and you have to guide them to each collect a key on the level. Now, the game's pretty short if you follow a solution, but very frustrating if you don't, because the 3D perspective really undermines the game from the get-go. As when you go into the back end of the level, it becomes very difficult to see what you're doing by objects and part of the foreground obstructing what you can actually see. Also, one of the levels seems to be only completed if you've taken advantage of a glitch, which lets you float over gaps and drops that would normally kill you. So not a very good showing when you have to break the game in order to complete it. Verdansk graced us with its presence in March of 2017, published by Black Mill Games and made by M2H. It's a World War I first-person shooter, which sounds very interesting, and we know that can be done, as Battlefield proves that it can be. Unfortunately, Verdansk winds the game back to its most simplistic means. It's slow, it's plodding, the hit detection is absolutely appalling. Now, I actually came to this game very late. I actually recently just picked it up in the Black Friday sale, and I really wish I damn well hadn't. I heard it was actually worse than this when it first came out, and that numerous patches have brought it up to the standard it's currently at, but to be honest with you, it's still a boring, broken, uninteresting mess. It's just a horrible game, and it should be avoided at all costs. Warhammer Quest by Chilled Mouse and Rodeo Games. Well, this graces us with its presence in February of 2017, priced at $23.99, which is quite a high price for what it is. And initially, I really enjoyed this game until I quickly realised it has a damn broken ass mechanic to it. And currently to date, this is my longest ever review I've done on the channel. I think clocking in about 17 minutes. I went off on this one that just one fatal decision has completely spoiled the game. And basically, it's a dungeon crawler. You choose your band of heroes from a mediocre selection who don't really do an awful lot different from one another, to be honest with you, and have to wade through an awful lot of dungeons and mediocre story. But it was fun for what it was, until you realise that at each and every turn, a dice roll is determined to mainly replenish the magic that your magic users have. But however, if you get a critical fail, it will spawn either a random event if there's no enemies on the screen, or spawn more enemies into the battle you're currently at. And unfortunately, this critical fail seems to happen every damn turn near enough. Therefore, a battle against one foe quickly degenerates into a battle against 100 foes, and especially when you factor in on the harder difficulty levels your characters have permadeath, then this is a broken ass mechanic. So this goes on the list, unfortunately. Broken ass gameplay mechanics seem to rear its ugly head again here with Deadbeat Heroes, which was published by Square Enix and developed by Deadbeat Productions. It's an isometric 3D brawler where you play as superheroes battling against a never-ending supply of villains. Unfortunately, the game has a seriously broken mechanic where if you don't meet the grade for the current level you're on, it resets the grades for the previous 2 levels that you've just completed. Now that's not a major problem early on in the game when the levels and the grades are pretty easy to attain, but later on the requirements become ridiculously hard. Factor in a broken gameplay mechanic where the scoring system seems to do as it wants, and when you feel like you've had a good run it gives you a crappy grade. Factor all that in, it's a very frustrating experience having to repeat levels that you didn't actually fail and work very hard to attain. So Deadbeat Heroes, unfortunately, gets a big miss from me. Another early one in the year, 8 Days, came out in February by Badland Indie, who normally release decent games, really publish decent stuff, but Santa Clara Games' 8 Days is not. It's a kind of top-down, forced 3D perspective, pixel-style shooter, which is incredibly unfair, and your characters do die very, very quickly. The boss battles are very uninspired, the character art very uninspired, and the plot is completely nonsensical. And then they patched the game and in turn broke it for the achievements, with a response from the developers, as I quote, "Long story short, we don't have a dev kit anymore, so don't expect to patch it. Sorry guys, hope at least you enjoyed the game." Jedamiro, Hero of the Universe, makes the list, unfortunately developed and published by Ghost Time Games. It came out in September of 2017, and it will be making a reappearance on one of my other end of year lists for a positive reason, but unfortunately this one is here because it is a gameplay vacuum. I think the space setting has sucked all the gameplay out of this title completely. You play as Jedamiro, who is a big stompy robot who doesn't know who he is or why he's here, and you fly around the universe, landing on spherical planets, stomping on the buildings, and not doing an awful lot, to be honest with you. Every now and then you'll land on a planet where there's a giant creature the same size as Jedamiro, and I was looking forward to a little bit of fisticuffs with the creature in a Godzilla kind of epic battle, but unfortunately these are handled through very brief QTE battles. And it's a shame really, because the amount of effort put into this title in other aspects is absolutely amazing, but like I say, it's just devoid of entertainment and gameplay, unfortunately. Saban's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle, did I get that right? Made a play for the crappiest game of the year early on in January of 2017, published by Bandai Namco and made by Bamtang. It's a beat 'em up, which I love. Side-scrolling brawlers are my favourite genre of games, and we need more of them in the modern era, but we don't need more of them like this. Identical enemies throughout, poor level design, poor moves. There's just, again, no gameplay. You can just simply complete the game tapping the most rudimentary of attacks. Punch, 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 punch. Works. Yes, you do get to churn into the Power Rangers every now and then, but there's a lot of levels where you're playing as the regular Joe versions of the Power Rangers. There is also some mega battles, again, also handling QTEs. What is it with QTEs? You know, let's have a proper fight with some big creatures, Godzilla-like, and wreck some shit up there. But Saban's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle should definitely be avoided at all costs. Musgraves Songs and Shadows graced us with its presence in August 2017. I can't even pronounce the publisher's name, but it was developed by Witching Hours Studios, and the production values of this game are amazing. It's a fantastic game. Look at the graphics. Look at it. The amount of effort put into this is amazing, and it's a shame that the amount of effort didn't get put into the gameplay, because this game has no gameplay. You basically choose attacks from a tray, and it doesn't seem to matter what you choose, you tend to just win the battles. I mean, I was playing it on normal difficulty level, even upped it to the most difficult level, and again, it doesn't seem to matter what I did, I always seem to win the battles. So it's a bit of a shame really. Again, another title devoid of entertaining gameplay. Don't Knock Twice, published and developed by Wales Interactive, came out in September of 2017, and to be honest with you, you don't even want to knock once. You don't even want to think about knocking, to be honest with you. This is a walking simulator which does everything wrong. It's boring, it's predictable, it has jump scares which are so signposted, you know, and laughable when they actually do happen. It's supposed to be a spooky experience, and it just becomes a very, very frustrating experience. Saving grace, it is only an hour to 2 hours long, and it's over very, very quickly. But it's over even faster if you don't buy the damn thing in the first place. It concludes in a way that, again, is so predictable, and just as when you think something meaningful is going to happen, the game ends with a quick time event, and it's all done, dusted, you're relieved, you can delete it from your hard drive, and as I said before, don't actually even install it in your hard drive, run for the hills. Don't Knock Twice is definitely a crap game of 2017. Aegon Assault is another title that made an early run for the title of Crap Game of the Year, coming out in January of 2017 by Black Shell Media and Hightail Studios. It's a kind of tower defense turn-based strategy game where you are pitted to the left of the screen, your opponents to the right, and you have to break down their wall before they destroy yours. And yeah, it involves squirrels of all things. It's just a crazy concept. Doesn't work very well. It looks appalling, and the same tactic can be applied throughout the entire game. It's just, I don't know, it's just a very, very strange, weird experience, and why this even exists, I simply don't know. Thankfully, it didn't reach Europe. It is only available in US regions, but even then, it's not one you should, you know, hunt down and play. Definitely not a golden acorn. Squish and the Corrupted Crystal. Where do we begin with this one? Published and developed by Cheat Code Studios back in September of 2017. It's a platformer that is so floaty, the controls are so appalling, they skid, the input lag is unreal, and you're basically tasked with collecting crystals on levels, and that's about it really. The levels are unimaginative, the enemies are unimaginative, quite what your hero is supposed to be. I still have no clue to this day, and it's just a really, really boring, bland experience from start to finish. It's just a very, very bizarre one. Fortunately, again, it's another one that didn't reach Europe. It is only available in US regions, so it's not one that many people would have played over in Europe. But even so, again, it's not one to hunt down here. It's just one of these games that be at home on itch.io, something like that, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be available on Xbox at all in this kind of quality. It's just shockingly bad. So yeah, do avoid Squish at all costs. Iki Moo came out in March of 2017, published and developed by COG Games Limited, and is based on a highly successful children's book. In fact, after playing the game, I actually got the children's book for my daughter, and she loves the book enormously. But this game, don't even think about buying it for your kids. It's an utter broken mess. Falling through the map, getting stuck on obstacles, levels not loading, the game crashing continuously. Basically a selection of 4 characters where only one of them is generally effective, the others are just there because they're in the books and not being developed correctly at all. Appalling camera angles. Where do I stop with this one? It's just absolutely appalling. Saving grace, it is only £4 to buy, but again, it's £4 better spent on something else, to be honest with you. It is just one of the most dreadful titles of the year. The enemies are all generic as well. You basically just fight reskins of enemies throughout the entire game. Sadly, it's more like Iki Moo. Where to begin with Troll and I? It's the first of an unwanted hat-trick by Maximin Games, who it was published by. This one's developed by Spiral House. It's £40 this, guys. This is £40 and still commands this price to this day on the store. It is amazing the audacity they have to charge for this Order Tribe. You play as I can't remember the guy's name now. You play as a human character who's escaping from a forest fire which kills his mother. Don't know why the forest fire actually started. I think it has something to do with the troll hunters or the weird imp kind of creatures which you quickly encounter. And the troll itself is just like a mash between E.T. the Extraterrestrial and a Rastafarian. I mean, just look at it. You can switch freely between the characters, although both of them control appallingly. The game looks like a very poor PlayStation 2 I would say it's open world, but adventure game, and it's just utterly appalling. I mean, look at the cutscenes on this one. It's just terrible, absolutely terrible. There's loads of QTE events, there's loads of puzzles which don't work. There's bits where you have to put planks across chasms and they actually fall through the map, leaving you having to restart the entire checkpoint, which are very poorly placed as well. It's just terrible. It's just £40 this, guys. £40, utter tripe. So the second part of the Unwanted Hat Trick by Maximum Games was developed by Team 6 Game Studios, and it's Road Rage. It was a spiritual successor, or heralded to be, of Road Rash, and it looked to be shaping up to be okay when we first saw the trailers, but unfortunately it went drastically downhill from there, because we have the most appalling handling racer I have played in a long while. The graphics, let's start with the graphics. The graphics are purely terrible, clearly PlayStation 2 era. The character models are bizarre. Basically, the lower part of the character model is fused to the bike, and the upper portion is completely independent, as when you strike an enemy, it makes an unnatural stretch and look completely bizarre. Talking about striking enemies, 1 minute you can be whacking people in the face and not registering a hit, and the other time your bike will get sucked into an unnatural vacuum which drags them towards the enemy and gets you the hit registered, as you can see coming up on the screen now. It's completely bizarre. Missions are bland. It just involves usually racing. There are some very annoying ones where you have to kill X amount of people in a very ridiculous short amount of time, and I shit you not, the final mission is just drive from A to B with no cops, no adversaries, no nothing, and a ridiculously ample time limit. This game is just pure trash and needs to be avoided with every fibre of your being. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. It is Dead Alliance, the hat trick by Maximum Games, who I honestly, no word of a lie, did not plan this in any way. I just wrote them down, and then when I was looking at the developers and publishers, it turned out that they had published the top 3 worst games of 2017, in my opinion anyway. This one, developed by Ilphonic, had the audacity to release 2 versions of the game. The first one was the multiplayer version, which you can buy for £20, which just gives you the versus mode, or you can have the privilege of paying £10 more to play the versus mode against bots and have a very tacked on, poorly designed survival mode where it's you against a million zombies with ever depleting health, where you have to run from survival zone to survival zone in the bid to upgrade your weapons to stand a chance. Unfortunately, your health depletes at such a drastic rate, the survival zones are ridiculously small, and the amount of zombies is just unbelievably dumb. The game mode is completely unplayable. The bots in the single player mode, even on the hardest difficult level, are completely ineffective, and you'll quite easily win games with a 100 to 1 KD ratio. It is so stupid. On launch, nobody was playing this game. I didn't delve back into it for the purpose of this video, because I just didn't want to stomach playing this game another minute longer. It's just so bad. The zombies are so ineffective in the multiplayer mode, it is unreal quite how the apocalypse actually came about, because they are only effective when you chuck a pheromone grenade at them, which enrages them and makes them almost indestructible and attack at like a million miles an hour and kill you instantly. So the question is, don't throw the bloody pheromone grenades, then we won't have an apocalypse and this game wouldn't have a need to exist, would it? I just don't understand why this game exists. My face is looking like the zombies on the screen at the moment that you can see there. But yeah, Dead Alliance is definitely the worst game of 2017. Oh, and I forgot to add as well, it also has 4 unobtainable achievements as well, which have not been patched or fixed since the game came out in August. So yeah, avoid this game in all its facets, on all its platforms, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox. I don't know if it met the Switch or avoid it on Steam as well. Just don't touch this game. It is utterly, appallingly bad. So I hope you enjoyed that list, guys. There'll be more videos coming up with end of year awards, and please remember to like, comment and subscribe and share the video. It really does help, and everybody have a fantastic 2018.